Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back. And if you are just tuning in with me for the very first time, it's so nice to meet you. And I'm really glad you're here with me today. I am your host, Heather Carey, nutritionist, chef, mom, and a woman who has been around the block with food. I want to open up about real food in relation to health, weight, and our bodies so you can make peace with what you eat. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. Today, I had the pleasure of speaking with Rebecca Whitman, who calls herself a magnetic abundance mentor. Rebecca is just full of positivity, love versus fear, abundance versus scarcity. And in a world where women are going through midlife, menopause transition, and all that surrounds that, empty nesting, our older parents, our health issues, our weight, our body image, Rebecca has a really fresh perspective on how to shift your mindset so you can recognize all that you do have rather than what you don't. So I really encourage you to take a listen to my interview with Rebecca, especially if you're feeling a little lost these days and just wondering what is going to happen with the rest of your life. I know we can all get caught up in those kind of thoughts every once in a while. So Rebecca really has a positive perspective on it. So take a listen to my interview with Rebecca Whitman. Hey, everybody. I am here today with Rebecca Whitman. Rebecca is a magnetic abundance mentor and author of internationally best-selling books, Phenomenal Feminine Entrepreneurs, Business Life, Universe, and How to Make a Six-Figure Income Working Part-Time. Rebecca was selected as Life Coach of the Year by the International Association of Top Professionals, and she hosts the Balanced, Beautiful, Abundant podcast. Rebecca's philosophy divides life into 7 pillars of abundance, which includes spiritual, physical, emotional, romantic, mental, social, and financial. She helps people achieve balance with these 7 areas so they can experience more fun and freedom in their lives. And Rebecca also has a personal story, and I'm really looking forward, Rebecca, to getting into your story and just to seeing how your story formed what you do now, as a life coach. So why don't we just jump in? I know you have a story about some eating disorder issues and being on and off diets. I know you're in menopause right now, and that's most of my audience. So why don't we just jump in and tell me your story?
Yeah, so I moved to LA 22 years ago, and it was my childhood dream to be an actress. And from the second I got here, I felt like I was being judged for my weight. And this was the pre-Me Too movement. So I actually had an agent say, before I decide to sign you, come back in a bikini. And I was in a bikini and he's like, you need to lose 5 to 10 pounds. I had to come back in a bikini again a few months later. And he's like, okay, I'll sign you. So literally so being judged. I wanted to be an extra on the show Entourage, and you had to be a size 4. I'm like 5'8". I've always been strong. So I vary between a size 6 and an 8. So yeah, it just was a lot of pressure. And I tried everything I could to fit that mold of being the Hollywood actress. And I tried the keto diet for many, many years. And although it did work and I did lean out, I ended up getting a gallbladder infection. And not only was my gallbladder infected, it needed to be pulled out immediately because it was creating an infection in my pancreas. There were gallstones that went from my gallbladder to my bile duct. And if that would have been blocked, I would have been done. So I'm just now I'm all about moderation and a low inflammation Mediterranean diet, vegetables, fish, some grains, fruit, and just drinking a lot of water. And And it's also about just self-love and just loving my body at every age and every size. And I've been in menopause now for a couple years, and I had a pretty graceful transition into that.
That's almost the worst case scenario of the keto diet, right? But I'm glad that you're sharing that story because a lot of women get desperate, to lose weight quickly, and the keto diet seems appealing, and then they realize either that they just can't sustain it or it's just another diet. But that's really the worst case scenario of what could happen on and off a diet. So thanks for sharing your example. And that it sounds like it prompted you to really reevaluate and get a little more clear with how you want to be eating and living. And so, you use the words moderation, anti-inflammatory, and self-love. And now that you're here in the wonderful land of menopause, things are constantly shifting and changing. But you are a coach, who focuses on mindset and abundance. How did you get into going from an acting career into coaching? And how has your story influenced the field of work that you are in now? Now that you are, a woman in a different phase of life and with a different attitude about life, I imagine.
Yeah. So what happened was I fell into working in the children's acting school business, which I totally loved because I don't have kids, and the kids were available after school and on weekends. So when the kids were at school, I was attending lectures by great thought leaders like Michael Beckwith, Abraham Hicks, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Marianne Williamson, and I studied the law of attraction. I applied it to my job at the kids acting school, and I started making six figures working part-time. The one area where I was incredibly challenged was my love life. And I had a habit of picking emotionally unavailable narcissistic men. And I actually married one thinking he would change, which a lot of women make that mistake. But instead, it just got worse. And there was a lot of verbal and emotional abuse. So I filed for divorce after just 3 years of marriage. And as my marriage was unraveling, my dad was dying in a nursing home. I was living in LA, where I still live. My dad was in Cincinnati. So I was flying back and forth, and I never knew which conversation with my dad would be our last. And in one of our last conversations, he said, "Rebecca, I think you should write a book. The way you're living life is very unique, and I want you to write." So my divorce was finalized on a Wednesday. My dad was, his funeral was on a Wednesday. My divorce was finalized 72 hours later. And somehow I didn't fall apart. And a few months later, I was sitting across the desk from my financial planner. And he said, "Rebecca, through your real estate investments and your stock portfolio, you're actually a millionaire. And I think you should teach women how you're resilient, because I know you lost your dad and you lost your marriage, yet you're having your best financial year ever." So I wrote a book. It's called How to Make a Six-Figure Income Working Part-Time. And in the book, I divide life into 7 key areas, which I call the 7 pillars of abundance. They are spirituality, health and fitness, emotions, romance, mental, social, and financial. And when all 7 pillars of life are in alignment, you are balanced, beautiful, and abundant. So now I mentor women to go from burned out to balanced, beautiful, and abundant. I have a podcast that's very successful called The Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant Show. And I'm now remarried to my soulmate. I'm, experiencing great health. And I really believe that when you have your life in alignment in these 7 key areas, you can be, do, or have anything you want.
Okay, I have a lot to unpack because that sounds like you had a really big influence from your dad. He was unfortunately, about to pass away, and he said, "You need to write," and he saw something good in what you were doing. And right at the same time, your first marriage was ending, which was probably a good sign, or, something that you needed to push out of your life. Now, a lot of women going through like the menopause transition, I mean, they're going through so much in their lives right at the same time. I don't know if you are experiencing some of this, but, just not only just the dip in estrogen, so physically, we're going through a lot of changes and having, possibly a lot of symptoms and health issues. Sometimes menopause re-triggers disordered eating, all things that you were getting away with, or ultra dieting and stuff, things, like kind of come to the surface again. Women are also experiencing empty nesting, taking care of older parents, questioning our careers, what we want to do with the rest of our lives. I mean, I know I'm certainly just, in some of that too. So I think this all takes a really healthy dose of an abundant mindset. You have to think, sort of like the glass half full in a way, rather than the glass half empty. And a lot of women I come across, maybe some of my clients think about all that they're losing right now, rather than all that they're gaining. And, their bodies as they knew it, their relationships, parents, health, and everything. So you shifted your focus quite a bit, and then attracted your new husband, and you're writing books, and it sounds like a really satisfying, fantastic career. So I'd love to talk to you more about like the mindset piece, or just your abundance or your philosophy. Before we get into like the specific pillars, I would just like to, just tell me a little bit more about your philosophy, how you feel like you attracted your new husband, and how it's, it sounds like a totally different relationship than your old one.
Yeah,
And
it really was. I was not quite yet in menopause when I met him, but I wanted to reinvent myself. So I called a coach. Actually, the coach called me. He was a friend of my ex-husband, and he's like, I think I'm supposed to work with you. And I was really close to investing my money in starting a gym. And he's like, well, you've already written a book. Why don't you just spend your money on marketing the book? So I was like, okay. So the week before the book launch, I went to a party thrown by the owner of my gym. And I invited everyone at the party to go to my book launch party the following week. And the only person who showed up was Ben. And he bought a book at the book launch party and said, hey, can I have you sign this over a dinner date? And I was like, sure. And I walked into the dinner date. He said, very just like jaded and cynical. I was wearing it on my sleeve, like, oh God, here we go again. Another LA guy, right? So he really wore me down by asking really, kind, like open questions. He got me really comfortable talking about myself and my life, and we connected, and we ended up closing down that restaurant. And it just coincided of meeting him with launching this new career. When the book came out, I would start to go on different podcasts and on the news and lecture about the book. And he was a former A-list agent. So he was like, cheering me on, and it's been really great. So that is how I met him. It's a very different kind of relationship. He's very kind. He is like no drama. And I wrote out everything that I wanted, and he is like everything that I wanted. So one of the things was I wanted to be with someone who wakes up in a good mood, because I call myself the magnetic abundance mentor, because I really believe your thoughts create your vibration. Your vibration is what creates your manifestations and your reality. And I want to keep my vibration as positive as I can, which that kind of segues into the beginning of your question of how some women think of menopause as a loss. And I thought of it that way at first, but then I realized we are, as women, internalizing the patriarchy to think that women are only valuable at a certain age. That basically came from the notion that women are only valuable if they can breed and, bring other humans onto the planet. And after that, purpose is served, they're not beautiful, or they're not worthwhile. And I really think that is completely just sexist and ageist. And I'm like, I don't want to perpetrate that. So I decided that I'm going to feel sexy and beautiful and confident at any age. And I think society is slowly changing. And I think it started with the show Desperate Housewives, that showed women in their 40s and 50s as like beautiful and sexy and had lives. And Now Sex in the City, they're all in their, and just like that, they're all in their 50s. And I feel like it's changing. Like society is finally changing where women that are, pre and post menopause are considered sexy and beautiful and interesting and have lives.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that things are starting to slowly shift, but it's slow. There's still many, many women that I see, my clients who, are really caught up in, I have to look a certain way and I have to be at a certain weight and, in order to be happy and fulfilled,
Yeah.
for fear of maybe losing my husband, for the pressure that women feel around body image. And it's changing. I can see shifts, but it seems like it's slow. It's slow, but it's moving. So my question is, you were saying that, like, so I just decided to, I just turned my kind of my frame of mind around. How do you do that? If you're really feeling like stuck, and you're looking at everything like, oh, my kids just left, I'm an empty nester, and that was my purpose in life. Now what am I going to do? And I feel like I'm gaining weight when I never really did before. And how do you go about the steps of turning that around? Because it's one thing to just talk about it and just say, just start thinking,
Right.
in a different mindset, or just, think with abundance. But it's one thing to talk about it and then one thing to really live it and believe it.
I would say to your question that all thoughts come from fear or love, or you could also say scarcity or abundance. So if you're coming from scarcity, there's never enough. Like there's always going to be someone younger, skinnier, sexier, smarter, more famous, wittier than you. And if you are coming from abundance, it's I am enough. And the man that is lucky enough to be with me will appreciate me at every age. And how do you do that? First of all, you're aware when you're in scarcity, like, oh, okay, I'm in scarcity. I'm thinking that I have to look perfect or I'm not good enough just at the body that I have right now. And then you catch yourself. And then what works for me is I have an affirmation that will switch me from scarcity to abundance. So I like to say affirmations like, I am enough, I have enough, I am willing to set myself free. That's a big one. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Things are working out even better than I can imagine. And I just keep working with affirmations. And in the book, How to Make a Six-Figure Income Working Part-Time, after each chapter, you get 3 affirmations that will help you feel more confident in that area. So that is, affirmations have been a very big tool. Another big tool, which I'm so excited to give as a gift to your audience, is I have been doing this abundance journal ever since I was a teenager. I met a woman at a 12-step meeting named Janet, and she told me, this is how you write in a God journal. And I kind of expanded on it. And what the journal does is it takes my scarcity, fear-based thinking, and it helps me flip it over to positive. And when I write out my fears and concerns and I see what they are, and I consciously flip them and write them down, then I'm kind of retraining my subconscious mind to think from negative or scarcity thinking to positive or abundance thinking. And I really credit that journal format and doing that every morning for almost 30 years, no matter what, to why I have been able to walk through this archway in such a graceful way because of the right mindset.
I love that. I'm a big proponent of journaling too. I've been journaling since I was probably 10 years old, and I have all my journals still,
Me
which is
too.
really funny to, like, sometimes look back on them. Sometimes scary, but I love that idea of this, like, flipping your fear. I mean, writing it down, getting it out, right? Because there's one thing. I mean, it's hard to just say like just say a bunch of mantras, and like because then they just become like on autopilot. But I really do believe in the power of journaling and getting your fears out onto paper, and then you say you then flip them around and rewrite them or just look at them in the opposite way. So that's just sounds very much like a gratitude journal, which is something I also keep. I think all of this, it really does help shift your mindset
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. And I also would like to share a poem that I wrote that helped me kind of internalize this whole self-acceptance. And it goes like this: I am not what I have. I am not what I do. I am not my age, my height, my weight, or my dress size. I am not my relationship with men. I am not what other people think about me. I am not my society. I am what I am, and it's enough. I am as God created me. All my needs are always met. All things are working together for my highest good. Everything I do comes easily, effortlessly, and elegantly. Everything in the universe is for me. Nothing is against me. Life is supposed to be fun. I stopped taking myself so damn seriously. I stopped fighting anything or anyone, even you. Thanks, God. So that poem really helps these issues that we're talking about.
I love that. That's a really nice poem. Did you write that?
I did.
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, again, it just it takes practice, right? I mean, it takes probably commitment and practice. I want to talk about your seven pillars of abundance. I mean, so how did you come up with these seven? Or, and I also want to ask about the romantic pillar because I was curious when I looked over your pillars that I was wondering about like romantic versus relationships or family or, does romantic fit under, is that an umbrella?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I found the pillars. I was going to a bunch of sales trainings and personal growth trainings in my 20s, and they taught us to set goals in each of these areas of life. They didn't have romantic, and that has always been an area of my life that is challenging, as I shared before. So I wanted to have goals and intentions in that area. And I would say that family and kids and all that are under emotional. Um, but romantic is something that, has been really kind of like an Achilles heel up until this new marriage. So I've been very intentional about shifting that. And that's why I added that as one of the pillars.
Yeah, that makes sense. So family, other relationships are under the emotional umbrella. Tell me more. I mean, if one of these is out of sync, do you focus solely on that one area? Are you focusing on all of the areas?
Yeah, well, I like to look at my schedule on a Sunday night, and I'm not hitting every area every day, but they are in order of importance. So every day I want to have a morning practice where I tap into my spirituality. And that's where I write in my abundance journal and I'll read from spiritual literature and whatever else, people love to do, prayer, meditation. Then fitness. I don't work out every single day, but probably 4 to 6 days a week, depending on the week. And then I look at emotions. I consciously try to stay high vibe and stay on the love channel. When I catch myself on the fear channel, which is only human, I'm aware of it. And I'm like, okay, how can I shift back to love? And a fast way to do that is through gratitude or affirmations. The next pillar is romance, and we try to have one date night a week where we go out to dinner. We don't look at our phones, we don't check our email, we're having a really connected conversation. So that's not something that we do every day, but once a week. Mental, I am constantly doing my personal growth in the nooks and crannies of my day. So I'm listening to podcasts, Audible, YouTube, when I wake up, when I'm driving, and when I'm getting ready for bed, when I'm walking the dog. So that's something that I just kind of fit in. And social, I try to have one social visit a week with a friend, with a girlfriend, where we have lunch or coffee or go for a walk. So that's not something I do every single day. And then finally, financial, that is just setting up my week because I believe in having multiple streams of income. So I actually have 4 income streams, and I set up my week and time blocks where I am very focused on the area that I'm in. And I think of it as, when we went to school, we had those 5 subject notebooks. And when we were like doing our English homework, we're doing our English homework. When we're doing our math, we're doing our math. When we're doing history, we're doing history. So I'm very deliberate about setting up my week where when I'm totally focused on which income stream I'm doing, that's all I'm doing. I'm not like going back and forth or anything like that. So that is kind of how I set up my week in terms of the 7 pillars. And the rest of your question, yeah, when one area is off, others get affected. When we're in a bad mood, when we're off emotionally, then obviously our romance gets affected, our social life and our financial life, or when we are, having a bad month financially and not able to pay our bills and we get stressed out, it affects our friendships, our romance. When we're not working out and we're not going to the gym, then we are also going to be like not having as much energy to go out and make money, so they're all interconnected. I don't believe in achieving perfect balance, even though I say balance, beautiful, and abundant is the name of my community. It's more like a symphony. And when all these areas are playing together, you have a harmonious life where you're in a flow state versus when you're just obsessed. Like maybe someone's just obsessed with food and they're obsessed with going to the gym and they don't even have time to have a relationship or earn money. That's when things get really out of balance.
So it sounds like you give your clients some clarity around that, right? So if someone comes to you and says, I'm just going through menopause and I'm just feeling so bleh, and like, I don't know what's going on with my life. I mean, you help to like pick that apart and then it falls into these categories. So how long does it take when someone comes to you and says, my life just feels like it's out of control and it's like a wreck and I just can't get happy with anything, or like, I just can't, I feel like just everything feels negative. How long do people work with you for?
Yeah, and it doesn't take me long. I mean, I have like different coaching programs that are anywhere from 7 to 10 weeks. And then I have ongoing support. Every Tuesday at 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern, I have a complimentary women's circle for any alumni of my programs or anyone who just wants to check me out as a coach. And that's going to be in my link tree, which you share. But it doesn't take long because I'm not a therapist. I don't believe in I do love therapy and I've had therapy myself for a long time. I'm not currently in it, but I don't process childhood trauma and what I'm doing. I am coaching people to get the results that I've gotten. So there's a saying, if you find somebody who has what you want, you do what they did, you can get what they got. I simply share a roadmap that will get them results. And once they have the roadmap, then they have it. And I offer that accountability group on Tuesdays. And yeah, most people are off and running. People will feel a shift after just the first session with me because it's not just philosophical. I give actual tips, tools, and strategies to affect a change that day.
Just speaking with you right now is definitely reminding me just to take action, and just to, we can get lost in our day-to-day stuff and then slip back. So this has been a great conversation for me too, because it's just reminding me to really focus on that abundance journal and my gratitude. And I've been actually going to be honest, I've been slipping on that a little bit lately. So I'm going to start that again this
Great.
afternoon. Yeah, definitely. So your program is really like a program of action. You're not sitting in the past with people looking at their trauma. This is like action steps that you can take right now.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a program on how to manifest your soulmate. And the first step is to process and release your past. So we do look at relationships, what went wrong, what went right, kind of look at the old patterns and kind of see where they're no longer serving you. And so we do look at the past in that program, but then we're like, okay, this is the old pattern of relationship. This is the old type of person that I'm attracted to. Now, what do we want to create that's different than that? So that is a program called 7 Steps to Manifest Your Soulmate in Midlife. And that is something where we do look at the past, but not for very long.
Yeah, right. You don't want to be gazing and staring back at the past for too long, right? We want to be moving forward. I
Exactly.
imagine that would be your philosophy.
Yes.
So your abundance journal, I mean, this is a morning practice for you. You said you recommend doing it in the morning, or could it be done anytime?
It can be done anytime. Some people do it in the morning. I like doing it in the morning. Some people like doing it in the evening. You could do it midday. It's just something that you want to do every day and create a habit with it because it will change your life. I have all my journals since I started doing it when I was 19. I could like fill a mansion with how many journals I have. I don't even know how I'm storing them. Some of them are at my mom's house in Ohio. Some of them are here, but it's been the number one tool for moving me forward toward my goals and dreams. And I just love writing. I love kind of like telling on myself because when I have negative feelings and they're just kind of swimming around my mind, they are creating anxiety and depression. And I don't even know like what's wrong with me. But once I get them on paper and actually see what my negative thought is, and then, like I said, I flip it into a growth opportunity or I reframe it, then I have power over my own life. So I'm not being run by my negative thinking or my limited beliefs. And that practice has really developed me into the person that I am today.
Totally agree. I think journaling is like having a therapist with you sometimes. It's like the best kept secret of just, kind of working out all your emotional stuff. And sounds like you're really doing that. But it's a practice too. A lot of people, when I say to them, like, you might want to journal this or here's some journal prompts, they do not get, or they are not comfortable putting pen to paper. But it sounds like your abundance journal, this is a great first start. And I will definitely link that in the show notes. And so everyone could get their hands on that and start the process of shifting your mindset around.
Make it like fun, like light a candle or incense that smells great, like have your favorite caffeinated beverage or warm beverage, like make it a beautiful ritual and make it fun. And it doesn't have to be a drudgery like writing a term paper in college. It can be something that you create like sacred space around, and then habit stack it with something that you do anyway. Like if you have coffee every morning, habit stack it with, okay, you're going to grab your coffee and then you're going to write in your journal. So I really think that you can reframe journaling to make it more like desirable to do and fun.
Absolutely. And I think that's such a good point. You said that, that it's not like you're writing a term paper. And I think
Right.
that's what people, when I say, like, you might want to get a journal, they're like, oh, really? I have to journal, I have to write. Like, it's not like that. It's so helpful and you feel so good after you do it. So that will definitely get linked in my show notes. And Rebecca, I want to thank you so much for just coming on today and talking about your 7 pillars of abundance. And I love the word abundance. I think it just sounds so positive and like forward thinking. And sounds like that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I really would just want to leave your listeners with this. Like, you're the perfect age and you are enough and you're beautiful with any body type, any age. And I know this sounds so cliche, but beauty comes from within. And mirror work is so powerful. Like, look yourself in the mirror every day and we're so used to looking at, oh, I have a zit, I have a wrinkle, I have this, I have that, I have a double chin. Like, look at yourself in the mirror for 5 minutes a day and look at what you love about yourself. And you might not even have anything at first, but just, oh my God, I like your nose, I like your hair, whatever it is, and build. And before you know it, you'll have a self-love practice. And we don't have to feel like as women that are at a certain age that we're not valuable anymore. We are even more valuable because now we have wisdom that we can help others with.
Yeah, so true. I mean, you have to really love yourself first before I think you can shift anything in your life. I mean, you have to come at it with some self-love and compassion for you first. So,
Yes,
yeah,
self-compassion. And that's the last thing I'm going to say. Like, changing how I talk to myself and my own inner dialogue has been life-changing because I'm a recovering perfectionist. And that is why I had eating disorders, because I was so mean and harsh to myself. And when I started talking to myself in a more loving way, and I still catch myself being a vicious taskmaster, and I'm like, nope, be easier, be more compassionate. How would I talk to a best friend? And I think self-compassion is an amazing, amazing antidote for any kind of angst about going through menopause or body image issues.
absolutely. I think it's a game changer for, just going through this experience right now and all that we are going through. So, Rebecca, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I know my listeners are going to love this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me on your show,
Okay.
Heather.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
And as always, if you loved this podcast, please consider gifting me with a 5-star review. It is so helpful for me to get the word out on real eating, our real bodies, and real food stories. Thank you so much and have a great week. Bye for now.